What if I told you that April 8th could mark one of the most significant blackout events in recent history? Now, before you think this is just another doomsday prediction, let me explain exactly what's happening and why experts are urging people to prepare right now. This isn't about fear-mongering. This is about being smart and getting ahead of potential chaos. If you're serious about protecting your family and staying prepared, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're diving deep into critical information that could make all the difference when things go dark. So what's actually happening on April 8th? There's a rare celestial event taking place, a total solar eclipse that's going to cross a major portion of North America. Now you might be thinking, so what? Eclipses happen. Here's the thing. This particular eclipse is creating a perfect storm of circumstances that has grid operators and emergency management officials genuinely concerned. The path of totality is going to pass directly over some of the most densely populated and energy-dependent regions. We're talking about areas where millions of people will simultaneously experience dramatic changes in solar power generation, temperature fluctuations, and potential strain on infrastructure that's already operating at capacity. When solar panels suddenly go dark across entire regions, the grid has to compensate instantly. That compensation doesn't always go smoothly, but it's not just about the eclipse itself. Intelligence reports and infrastructure assessments have been warning about increasing vulnerabilities in our power grid. Cyber attacks on utility companies have increased dramatically over the past year. We've seen successful attacks on water treatment facilities, pipeline operations, and even small-scale power disruptions that barely made the news. The timing of this eclipse creates a window where bad actors might see an opportunity to cause maximum disruption, while officials are already dealing with natural strain on the system. Whether it's foreign adversaries or domestic extremists, the reality is that our grid is a target, and April 8th represents a moment of particular vulnerability. Let's talk about what a blackout actually means in practical terms. This isn't just about your lights going out for a few hours. Modern blackouts can cascade into much bigger problems very quickly. Without electricity, gas stations can't pump fuel. ATMs don't work. Credit card systems go down. Grocery stores can't process transactions even if they wanted to stay open. Refrigeration fails, meaning food spoilage begins within hours. Water treatment plants have backup generators, but those only last so long. Cell towers have battery backup, but after 24 to 48 hours, your phone becomes a useless brick. The entire fabric of modern life depends on continuous electrical power, and we've built a society with very little redundancy or resilience. Now, let's get into what you actually need to stockpile before April 8th. First, and most critical, is water. You cannot survive more than 3 days without water, and when the power goes out, water systems fail faster than you think. You need 1 gallon per person per day at minimum. But I recommend at least 2 gallons per person per day to account for cooking, hygiene, and unexpected needs. For a family of 4, that means you should have at least 56 gallons stored for a 2-week scenario. Don't just buy bottled water and forget about it. Get heavy-duty water storage containers, the kind designed for long-term storage. Fill your bathtubs at the first sign of trouble. Buy water purification tablets and portable filters as backup. Clean water is survival priority number 1. Food is your next critical supply category, but not just any food. You need shelf-stable, nutrient-dense options that require minimal or no cooking. Think about what happens when your stove doesn't work and you can't use your microwave. Canned goods are your foundation. Beans, vegetables, soups, stews, canned meats like tuna, chicken, and Spam. Yes, Spam. It's not gourmet, but it's protein-rich and lasts forever. Peanut butter is incredibly calorie-dense and requires zero preparation. Crackers, rice, pasta, oats, dried fruits, nuts, granola bars, and protein bars should all be on your list. Don't forget comfort foods either. When things get stressful, having chocolate, coffee, or familiar snacks can make a huge psychological difference. Calculate 3 meals per day per person for at least 2 weeks. That's 42 meals per person at minimum. But here's what most people forget about food storage. You need a manual can opener. Sounds obvious, but in a blackout situation, you'd be shocked how many people realize they only have electric can openers. Also, think about how you'll actually prepare food if the power's out for an extended period. A camping stove with extra fuel canisters is essential. Get the kind that uses small propane bottles because they were easy to store and transport. A backup option is a small charcoal grill or even a simple fire pit setup if you have outdoor space. Store matches in waterproof containers and get several lighters. Disposable plates, cups, and utensils will save you the problem of washing dishes when water is scarce. Paper towels and napkins become incredibly valuable when normal cleaning isn't possible. Lighting is something people dramatically underestimate until they're sitting in complete darkness. Your phone flashlight will drain your battery in hours, and then what? You need multiple sources of light that don't depend on electricity. LED lanterns with battery backup are excellent because they provide area lighting rather than just a beam. Get at least 2 lanterns per room you'll be using. Headlamps are incredibly useful because they keep your hands free for other tasks. Flashlights of various sizes should be scattered throughout your house so you can grab one quickly. But here's the key. You need batteries. Lots and lots of batteries. Buy them in bulk now because when emergency hits, batteries sell out within hours. Get D batteries for big lanterns, AA and AAA for smaller lights. Consider rechargeable batteries with a solar charger as a sustainable backup option. Staying warm or cool, depending on the season, could literally be life or death. April weather can be unpredictable. If you're in a northern region, you could still face freezing temperatures at night. Without central heating, your house will lose warmth shockingly fast. You need multiple layers of cold weather gear even if you're just staying inside. Thermal underwear, wool socks, insulated jackets, hats, and gloves should be readily accessible. Sleeping bags rated for cold temperatures can turn your bed into a survivable space even if the house drops to 40 degrees. Emergency Mylar blankets are cheap, compact, and can reflect body heat back to you. For families with children or elderly members, hypothermia becomes a real risk very quickly without proper preparation. On the flip side, if you're in a southern region in April, you're looking at potentially dangerous heat without air conditioning. Fans don't work without power, so you need alternative cooling strategies. Stock up on electrolyte drinks and powder, because dehydration and heat exhaustion happen fast when temperatures climb and you're stressed. Cooling towels that you wet and wrap around your neck can provide relief. Know where the coolest areas of your house are, typically basements or north-facing rooms with good shade. Battery-powered fans exist, but they drain batteries quickly, so use them strategically during the hottest parts of the day. Having a plan for heat is just as important as preparing for cold. Medical supplies become critical when you can't just run to the pharmacy or hospital. Start with a comprehensive first aid kit, but don't just buy a pre-made one and call it done. Augment it with supplies specific to your family's needs. If anyone takes prescription medications, talk to your doctor right now about getting an emergency supply. Most insurance will allow a 90-day prescription, and some doctors will provide extra in emergency situations. Stock up on over-the-counter medications including pain relievers, antidiarrheals, antihistamines, and anything you use regularly. Bandages, antibiotic ointment, medical tape, gauze pads, scissors, tweezers, and a thermometer that doesn't require batteries are all essential. If anyone in your family has specific medical needs like insulin, inhalers, or EpiPens, you need backup supplies stored properly. Personal hygiene items are often overlooked but become desperately important when services are disrupted. Toilet paper is the classic example because everyone remembers the shortages from recent years. Store more than you think you need because it's bulky and hard to substitute. Baby wipes are incredibly versatile, useful for personal cleaning when showers aren't possible. Hand sanitizer, soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, feminine hygiene products, diapers if you have young children, and basic grooming supplies should all be stockpiled. Trash bags become extremely important when garbage service stops. You'll need heavy-duty bags to manage waste, and you'll go through them faster than expected. A portable camping toilet or at minimum a bucket with a toilet seat attachment might seem extreme, but if water systems fail, your regular toilet won't flush. Communication and information access will be crucial during an extended blackout. Your smartphone is great until the battery dies and cell towers go down. A battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radio is essential for getting information from authorities about when power might be restored or where emergency services are available. NOAA weather radios can alert you to dangerous conditions. Consider a solar-powered radio or one with multiple charging options. If you have family members in different locations, establish a communication plan now before anything happens. Designate an out-of-state contact person who can relay messages if local systems are down. Written emergency contact information should be stored physically because you won't be able to access your phone contacts if devices die. A printed map of your area is also smart because GPS won't work without power or data. Power backup solutions can make a blackout much more manageable if you invest in them now. Portable power stations have become much more affordable and practical. These are essentially large battery banks that you can charge before an emergency and then use to run essential devices. A mid-range power station can keep a small refrigerator running for hours, charge phones dozens of times, and power lights and communication devices. Pair a power station with a portable solar panel and you have renewable energy capability. Obviously, full home generators are ideal, but they're expensive and require fuel storage. If a generator is within your budget, get one installed and tested before April 8th. Make sure you understand how to safely operate it and have enough fuel stored properly. Never run a generator indoors or in an attached garage because carbon monoxide poisoning kills quickly. Financial preparation is something most people completely ignore. When the power goes out, electronic payment systems go down. That means credit cards, debit cards, digital payment apps, everything that depends on internet connectivity becomes useless. You need physical cash on hand right now. Withdraw enough to cover at least 2 weeks of expenses. Small bills are important because nobody will be able to make change easily. $20 bills, tens, fives, and ones should make up your emergency cash supply. Store it securely in your home in a fireproof safe or well-hidden location. Also consider that if banks are closed or unable to operate, you won't be able to access your accounts even when things start coming back online. Having cash means you can buy supplies, pay for services, or handle unexpected needs when digital systems are down. Security becomes a real concern during extended blackouts, especially in urban and suburban areas. When the lights go out and people get desperate, crime increases. That's not fear-mongering, it's documented reality from every major blackout in modern history. You don't need to become a survivalist fortress, but you should think seriously about home security. Make sure all doors and windows have solid locks and that you actually use them. Motion sensor lights won't work without power, so consider battery-powered motion alarms that alert you to movement around entry points. A battery-powered security camera system can provide visibility even when main power is out. If you legally own firearms and are trained in their use, ensure they're accessible but secured from children. Even non-lethal options like pepper spray, baseball bats, or tactical flashlights can provide some measure of protection and peace of mind. Important documents should be organized and protected before any emergency. When crisis hits, you don't want to be scrambling to find critical paperwork. Get a fireproof and waterproof document safe and store copies of identification, insurance policies, property deeds, medical records, bank account information, and any legal documents. Take photos or scans of these documents and store them on a USB drive, as well as in secure cloud storage that you can access from any device once power is restored. Having proof of identity and ownership becomes extremely important in recovery situations. Also include some family photos and irreplaceable sentimental items if there's room. In worst-case scenarios where you need to evacuate, grab your documents safe and go. Think about special needs and unique situations in your household. If you have infants, you need formula, bottles, diapers, and baby food that doesn't require refrigeration. Pet owners need to stockpile pet food, medications, and supplies because pets depend entirely on you. Elderly family members might need special dietary items, mobility aids, or specific comfort items. If someone in your home has disabilities or medical devices that require power, This is absolutely critical. Oxygen concentrators, CPAP machines, electric wheelchairs, and other medical equipment need backup power solutions. Talk to medical equipment providers about battery backup options and emergency protocols. Don't assume emergency services will be available quickly during a widespread blackout. Entertainment and mental health considerations might seem trivial, but psychological resilience matters in extended emergencies. When power's out, internet is down, and you're confined to your home with nothing to do, stress and conflict increase dramatically. Stock up on books, board games, playing cards, puzzles, and activities that don't require electricity. For children especially, having entertainment options prevents panic and helps maintain some sense of normalcy. Art supplies, coloring books, and craft materials can keep kids occupied. Adults benefit from having projects or hobbies that can be done without power. A journal for documenting the experience can be therapeutic. Physical activity is important too, so plan some indoor exercises or games that keep everyone moving and burn off anxious energy. Community connections and mutual aid networks can be the difference between struggling alone and having support when systems fail. Talk to your neighbors now before anything happens. Find out who has skills, resources, or needs that could be shared. An elderly neighbor might need help but have wisdom to offer. Someone with medical training becomes invaluable. A neighbor with a generator might share power for charging devices. Building these relationships beforehand means you're not starting from scratch when crisis hits. Consider forming a neighborhood emergency group where people agree to check on each other and share resources if needed. Strength in numbers isn't just a saying. Connected communities survive disasters better than isolated individuals. What about vehicle preparation? Your car can be a crucial resource during a blackout. Make sure your gas tank is full before April 8th because, as we discussed, gas stations can't pump without power. Keep it topped off rather than letting it get low. Your vehicle can provide shelter, transportation, mobile phone charging, and even heat or air conditioning if needed. Store an emergency kit in your car that includes water, non-perishable snacks, blankets, a first aid kit, flashlight, basic tools, jumper cables, and a phone charger that works from the car outlet. If you need to evacuate or simply get away from a bad situation, your car might be your best option. Make sure it's fueled and ready to go at a moment's notice. Now let's address the elephant in the room. What if nothing happens on April 8th? What if the eclipse comes and goes without any blackout or emergency? First of all, that's the best-case scenario, and we should all hope for exactly that. But here's the thing. Everything we've talked about isn't just preparation for one specific date. These supplies and strategies are essential for any emergency. Power grids fail regularly from storms, accidents, and infrastructure failures. Natural disasters happen with increasing frequency. Economic disruptions create shortages. Civil unrest can shut down services. Pandemics, as we all learned recently, can disrupt supply chains for months. Every single item and strategy we've discussed will serve you well in countless scenarios that could happen anytime. Preparation is never wasted. It's insurance. You hope you never need it, but you're incredibly glad you have it when crisis strikes. The psychology of preparation versus panic is important to understand. Right now, before April 8th, you can shop calmly, compare prices, think through your specific needs, and prepare methodically. You can order items online, visit multiple stores, and build your supplies without stress. But once an emergency is imminent or already happening, everything changes. Stores get mobbed, shelves empty within hours, prices skyrocket, people become aggressive and desperate. You're forced to grab whatever is left rather than what you actually need. The difference between preparing now and scrambling later is literally the difference between confidence and panic. Which mental state do you want to be in when your family is looking to you for security and answers? Let's talk about the timeline. We're talking about preparing before April 8th, which means you need to start immediately. Don't put this off until next week or assume you'll have time later. If this video is reaching you in late March or early April, you have limited time to acquire everything you need. Make a list right now while you're watching. Pause the video if you need to and write down the categories we've covered: water, food, lighting, heating or cooling, medical supplies, hygiene items, communication devices, power backup, cash, security, documents, and special needs for your household. Assign priorities based on what you already have versus what you're missing. Maybe you have plenty of canned food but no way to cook it without power. Maybe you have flashlights but no batteries. Identify your gaps and fill them systematically. Budget concerns are real, and not everyone can afford to buy everything at once. Prioritize based on survival fundamentals. Water and water purification come first. Basic food supplies second. Light and warmth third. Medical needs fourth. Everything else fills in as budget allows. You don't need name-brand expensive supplies. Store-brand canned goods are just as nutritious. Dollar stores carry many emergency supplies cheaply. Sales and bulk buying save money. If you have $100 to spend, you can cover basic 2-week supplies for a small family if you shop smart. $200 gets you into comfortable territory with good variety and backup options. More money means more comfort and longer duration supplies, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. Something is infinitely better than nothing. Shopping strategy matters. Don't clear entire shelves at one store because that creates panic and makes you look like a hoarder. Spread your shopping across multiple stores and multiple trips if possible. Buy a few extra items each time you grocery shop. Order non-perishables online to avoid contributing to local shortages. Check warehouse stores where buying in bulk is normal and expected. Look for sales and use coupons. Generic brands work just as well as name brands for emergency supplies. Rotate your stockpile by using and replacing items before they expire. This keeps everything fresh and makes your emergency supplies part of your normal household inventory rather than a separate stash that sits unused. Storage logistics are important because you need to actually fit all these supplies somewhere. Designate a specific area as your emergency supply zone. A closet, basement corner, garage shelving, or even underbed storage can work. Keep everything organized and labeled so you can find items quickly in the dark if needed. Store water away from direct sunlight to prevent algae growth. Keep food in cool, dry places away from pests. Rotate stock so older items get used first. Make sure every family member knows where the emergency supplies are located. In a real crisis, you might not be home when things start. So others need to be able to access what they need without your guidance. Training and practice might sound excessive, but think about this. Have you ever actually used a fire extinguisher? Most people haven't, even though they own one. When fire breaks out, figuring it out for the first time is not ideal. Same principle applies to emergency supplies. Practice using your camping stove before you're trying to cook in the dark during a stressful blackout. Test your emergency radio and make sure you know how to operate it. Try spending an evening without power to identify what you actually need versus what you thought you'd need. Let your kids practice using flashlights and lanterns. Review your evacuation plan as a family. Go through the motions so that if real emergency happens, everyone responds from practice rather than panic. Information sources matter because misinformation spreads faster than facts during emergencies. Identify reliable sources of information right now. FEMA, your local emergency management agency, the Red Cross, and official weather services provide accurate information. Local news stations often have good emergency coverage. Be extremely skeptical of social media rumors and unverified claims. During a blackout, false information about where to get supplies, which areas are safe, or when power will return can send you on wild goose chases or into dangerous situations. Having pre-identified trustworthy sources means you'll get accurate information when it matters most. So here's what I want you to do immediately after finishing this video. First, subscribe if you haven't already, because we'll be providing updates and additional information as April 8th approaches. Second, make your supply list based on what we've covered. Third, check what you already have at home versus what you need to acquire. Fourth, set aside time in the next 3 days to do your emergency shopping. Fifth, organize your supplies and make sure your family knows where everything is. Sixth, have a family meeting to discuss the plan, assign roles, and address concerns. Seventh, stay informed through reliable sources about any developing situations. Eighth, remain calm and confident knowing you've prepared intelligently. The goal here is not to live in fear, but to live in readiness. There's a massive psychological difference between those two states. Fear is paralyzing and unproductive. Readiness is empowering and rational. You're not preparing because you're scared. You're preparing because you're smart. You're taking responsibility for your family's well-being rather than assuming someone else will take care of you. You're acknowledging that modern infrastructure has vulnerabilities and that self-reliance is both practical and necessary. This is the mindset of resilient people throughout history who have weathered storms, survived crises, and come out stronger on the other side. Remember that preparedness is a journey, not a destination. What you do before April 8th is just the beginning of building real household resilience. Once you have these basic supplies in place, you can continue expanding your capabilities over time. Learn new skills like basic first aid, food preservation, water purification, or emergency communication. Gradually add to your supplies as budget allows. Connect with like-minded people in your community. Stay informed about threats to infrastructure and supply chains. Adapt your preparations as seasons change and new information becomes available. The people who thrive in uncertain times are those who prepare continuously rather than scrambling when crisis is imminent. One final thought about the bigger picture. Whether or not anything happens on April 8th specifically, we're living in increasingly unstable times. Climate change is making extreme weather more frequent and severe. Geopolitical tensions are higher than they've been in decades. Cyber threats against infrastructure are growing constantly. Supply chains remain fragile after recent disruptions. Our power grid is aging and vulnerable. These aren't conspiracy theories or doomsday predictions. These are documented realities that experts across multiple fields are warning about. Preparation isn't paranoia, it's prudence. It's the responsible thing to do when you look honestly at the world we're living in and the trajectory we're on. The difference between people who do okay in emergencies and those who suffer unnecessarily usually comes down to one thing: preparation. Not luck, not wealth, not special skills. Just simple, methodical preparation done ahead of time when there's no pressure. You're watching this video, which means you're already ahead of most people who will ignore warnings until it's too late. You're taking this seriously. You're willing to invest time and resources into protecting your household. That puts you in a small minority of people who will be ready when systems fail. Be proud of that. Act on it. And know that whatever happens on April 8th or any other day, you've done what you can to keep your family safe and secure. Now go make your list and start preparing. Your future self will thank you.